da malungili tasil sel morar beklaad malungilo ngay mlurior awera bodolmol malmomu urtial press conference ergid ebodong tira atangaklal Minister of Justice Minister Jennifer Olgrila mbolbaskidang lungu ederel alitasil sa
وتتلك لذلو ضم اليوس ayang dak man merang sulam gelen la el altasil sa ulang sulam gelen la blessings la altil sul di mukringi ya ul kisi ela bdanga meruba merang sulam meruba gelen telte al uksab amal me وبنجلا presidente قلت المرابلو وقو بيبلا تويل يري المبدئ أدرابلو ونيتا كلاين سيو ما البرنا السلام روبا الجلا أوريري الأدرا ميديا وما قلتنا تتير روبا لو مقراتين بولسب إذا ما غلوريور الانفورم رابلو بولسب إذا روبا المقلا بلو بولسب ويلاوريو المرال السب أقلا بلو أقمال برنا السلام روبا ونيت ممل ملو مقلتنا ترى President Whips ما بك leadership رابلو بلاو give them the guidance, the wisdom, and the commitment and the foresight to be able to lead this nation in accordance to your words, Arubak. Akmal Barang Sulam al Dibloy, Ultro Kratial press conference in Morao. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Sulang Minister Olgrila, Rang Nungu, Mutel Telegotul, Guranga, Sularubak al Dios. Sel يا عمل سكيد التعال اللي يعقل بلو دي كده المادرة دي دريق المالنغ تنات ل دريق مروني أقول مدورة عسولة مال ملوبرانا يعلو ذلهم rain is a blessing and we're so grateful دريق متر تعال بقصص رايبدول مرقلاي مربقول بلاو بيلوم بيرقلاي مرمسيل بلاو President Paulus مرقول Senator Speaker Kanai مرقول delegates Chief Justice Ngiray Galaw, Marbecal Justices, Governors, Lators, Bektel Other Belaw, Nangarang Ayang Almoro Hot Charigi, Mangarik Rablu Belal Alcids. Gida Amdero say, Kolo Bangaleth, Adimaran me. The Alquadimo updated the Telocnomerical Tal Sunday was saying Academy rule since Coramlo of Island del Dimle one day. Di ruera guran mora bola ver ser tutau ra ongirulurior no se gal meeting vice minister ra finance atsusi neding ra blur belau of course el oko laba klumara ablura shabal igidangania bebira gidat magaloro lamgela sel ministry loro matmo sel modonil el ongoing projects sel dasing Palau savings bond. So I may update the one of the things that they've been working with us on sell software to operate the tial system. So software is ready. Let's go to the next step. And of course, he wanted to talk about I got rest ang sa Blur Belao and I got activity how we can continue to work together. We really want to highlight, not only are we going to be chair of PIF, the more we're going to Blura Shabal said Palm. That's happening next summer at Yokohama Blura Shabal. Magulu meeting lang mga 8 o'clock, mo 9:15, more airport and Masra Skogi. Arrive Rabolabera 3 afternoon. 4 o'clock, no meeting lang mga Veterans Affairs at Abluram Regal. You'll under Secretary Brown. Amlo sabel meeting ngima team ngira Veterans Affairs gidam bengen wase seran mga kampak tra 2024 en mleklo to trela ayel nges son more veterans especially sel ngora to gora guru gidam bengen se selangar bela en sel Veterans Administration am lekasi fara bela la sendekal lutum rablu amrigel mdekal yem lanyaso sel lara kampak ta amle wase girel mosabel di tilo abeser administration en area al sela government travel amrigel wal do se tiada al sebel ang ilay sila se kalo ising ase semla mlamongo rather ngar gel beser under secretary ma secretary Collins amlamo adadu e ase ngire dal gut makliti alurior matrigam lera MIF lo ay segal blue lo ase ngari aklawal togol bolong at mok awan telehealth ongeru medication to trigal veterans and ngara ongede
Travel reimbursement. No reimbursement.
sel sumang temosmera igal blue al ngaria guru de borir al sela lesem blue belau ngaria angeswel morti margo al sumang giril ngaras kogin mara guru outside mesem madri kan mo cover aye kal to ege adur lungit kada sedro ase it's in process the war blal identify lo ase area odo bolospe olbila actually kada nombre gal presenter uksel meeting rigidra MIF said Wednesday at 2 and then sel afternoon chief of staff ukno present at ora finance MIF ayitilo the mer afternoon and return mer ablur belang ele dirigal sirada arsim no se del el mitra assistant secretary Haig he'll be coming back to Palau for the PIF of course in malmol mal wasing ngaray gel sikal help one of the things that he wants to do is do everything and help facilitate try to deliver igal audits faster schedule lang at 2024 agiran momre gara December at 2026 agiran momre gara June I mean 2025 at June and then next year December we get to 2026 he wants to try to help us in that area dirigal mal kasi aling giron bria del spend igal ududi al matmak la to infrastructure ablumim kada so mo dinga orak mo ngalo ase sel dangal igal bebi ablu tiga de adiro kem da igal ududi rela da bonga ra la da kal talab ge ngari udo beto igal mo ase mela ka mo igal bebi ablu de mo kem da igal udo igal la kadam bas kamiu implement gidam dengela say one of the things in the budget gida continued debate lo say the more approved rather will be and that was one of the delays that I got implementation of project but anyway it continues to be a debate and if you look at the second reading of the budget that more approved but anyway there are grants in fact Bill Hague when he was here I say ngaramang katakonge ma request ame get approved approved it only causes delays and that's what happened to FSM 200 million aliloy tra tilaw dra last tra kampak tertirim lo dal silo kemi so it's important to get the help out to where it's needed and help the people lastly of course agimle return el merbelaw ulo gadolura del May Maria delegation of State Department Cunningham Assistant Secretary Cunningham State Department amlartiang madirigal staff delegation ara Blue Ramrigel la Senate temle arriver seguir kapsinge no sé del meter tir ser kapsinge and then we had meetings semlolis tir tial proposed the hospital site me am dingelo se nartia sel group el present more albira galulaw arsel naomre gal feasibility study mesel el decision arsel committee lo sea multirak arsel recommendation arsel omsu lo sea best el site el gire la best el hospital abibula irai magimlor sel el abibula irai sengan klele minister obia sengan klele skibang sibang en momentos el site lo trigal Adram Rigel so that they can further go back and more Congress the tiga gidam the area executive branch which is Secretary Landau who is coming to PIF he wanted a site he wanted the estimates so that ultimately tomorrow will be ask outside so it's just part of the process that we're moving forward dirigan malungil algum kata askar adro will be man ngaria a video or sell whole presentation almost 3 hours tingilu rogir sell whole presentation and also am dalo writing but anyway wila adra mida logir tirase digal giral selective ay gale film rigil bebira tam ngir lo top dadam kamlau Oh, hindi mo ba ng clock olbil. But so one of the things that we want to do salute and make group ikadul krul a meeting ertiage ora la camera rig der tenge mo kapira presentation sharing lom tre adra blue. So we'll do that the next time. But you know nak mo igaro ko na vesen mga suli adra media ng artel mo gedel al tutaw. Akamal mo excited matrigal minister so mo ged. Mga suli may minister Olgoril, minister Aitaro, minister Mutula, minister Obiang, chief of staff ng artel mo ged. Kida maltmaru de maltuara adra media rela. Of course Olgoril, Leilani, Ngaria, Nigma, and then I don't know the rest of the names. Aigo, Dave, Ohana, Shandong. Tiga participate program kamira a media training. Fantastic. Malmot maru sa stira to kon bigrela del uk almost every year to kora media. So the people can be informed. So of course I'm thinking was Olbira Lula Senate. Finally, elitem le pasara budget ra second reading. What up to Camildung na sell second reading, I think some things need to be corrected. Ako truling tial budget telalra has probably been the most comprehensive presentation I'll give we gave them like an economic analysis and not only that top the budget we also had a SORA and we have an economic advisory group that has a report. We have IMF, we have World Bank, all are independent bodies, expert that are giving us data that we use to present and come up with policies. It'll help actually selling, one of the important budget along asel malmol malonga sa ududi rara kida in fact amle gora amle eul de sueda wase el alme raga de lut long sa clear sell wage across the government by another 10%. Di ultura mamadara Middle East ultura reform that we're going to need to make for SSMA pension, which will require an additional 2% expense government. We have to be conservative. 5% increase in more rather government. Why is it important? Vacancy government. Well, one of the reasons there's vacancies in the government, like that's one of the reasons. That's another reason why the sell say, well, 2019, I guess 2019 so I just want to share a couple numbers with you. Sell gida malungilang ang bayang close screen. Tilan siya to the TV. Okay. So, kami dabora 2019. 2019 sel number dos peri el measure klunga la geizar al sel ablur belaw. Sel udo. Total udo do lumur al sel ablur belaw. Amle 282 million. Okay? Ega me the fast forward and more at 2025. Sel number am lang sa mo 352 million. Okay? 2026. So we're predicting it was 389 million. Almost 100 million increase or more, almost 25% increase raklungel against a blue belaw. Misel lologol was a kadriga gira del bigik le kadamdak teleng kadamlang alakra 2019 yes, we know kadamalangan kala 2019, but part of the reason we have to increase if you look at that, nominal GDP, per capita GDP. Per capita, sel daseng sel yellow, til wase sel nasa klela aladrang ok mendiri kan namas. So that's why I said even though tial dollar mosadri is less valuable today than it was at that time. And that's why ang ginadron sa ududirar adling kador tirak sel aladrang okla. That's one of the major reasons sa kador sa ududirar. I don't know, sometimes maybe malimis to kay reporter gi mo Mr. Adra Senate. Ikaw mal willing almo help pertir explain ay kakaro sa report mo tamo understand. Ligati kati dom yo ay based na fact, hindi ka kati nga feeling. But you need to use real numbers, real data to make sound analysis. Another one kumdas yung close to tila bodo dangali. Tadi masadara kadamal bagik na. Since 2021 al time, and there's never been a year legal lidisela udo del mesois agegare sel bled project ni wasing moyo sang angar hindi surplus rabek el time. Sorry, natirada ka. Well, this so I just want to show this. Tianga o tilo ase ayel yellow o tilo ase rasel niya adul kamadi esel ayel udo dul dulab ng amsang sesel do ase wal surplus ayang dekal besel yang lega dul lis ersera asora mesel do ase deka udo that's the money that's there. I will share a thing. One of the important things about Oscar Til, Ambassador said cyclical reserve, Masel climate reserve fund. I got ulang close to tell fund help it sell sumong. For example, a drought, and we want to be able to say, an emergency, we have to address it. We'll take the money from the climate resilience fund. El fund again drought initiatives. Will take care. So. Abort the next page. So, sorry. So if you look at this shows you was saying cyclical fund. In 2020 it was 29 million. Of course, in Miran Merio, because we authorized to use that money for COVID. But still got to continue save although they get savings previous page. There's two types of savings. And I get savings because of the excess. I get savings and moral savings. So that's why at the reserve fund ang appropriating ilmo plus ang udo the surplus mo. So we've also shared this was a cyclical reserve fund at time 32 million. 5 million, whatever. That's the fact. I get that information like blabastri. Was there's a climate resilience at 5 million. Combined, we only need a reserve of 30 million. The combined right now we have 37 million. And we have other general fund reserves. So on tidan mo albira say you don't have to appropriate today. Di meda kangye dogulo say al sumang access do dev edo lab el payoff again mutter blals. Ilingira de lo song sara rabel set. Mase amle IDR gidel lo say ngira del mol mol nga sa do dirar ngira del find ways to reduce our blals and selorala and of course I get reformer SS a pension require us to make more contributions and that should happen at sela budget. So mainly a budget kita focus sa issue. Yes, there's other increases a minor, but maklol policy direction or blue. And I think one of the things I'm glad rather Odbila finally the funder obis tira GAO. But this expert in our cell obis tira sil helper team mo understand I got report. A helper team the reporter because if they don't understand, we're willing to help them. And a problem at the So it's good for them to have their independent body, makmal support tayo duludas. Di, ngari lo rule policies, to me, it's backward. Nga omrar seto kasi, doon sa udu dirarat, elakata subsidize, adeng girtir. The subsidize, irtirgel kotros pe angeso. Ela sel mua 3 million, and one sa PPUC, mal peralu, who does that help? Hindi kal help ringil ko tulabul. Ang help para Surangan and Sons, ang help para West. Why are we helping them? Help para hotel? It's a bad policy. Hindi temnar mo lang betokol التقول OT governmentary ما دي قال لو وديك PUC دي قال charges at proper rate and make sure and they goes bankrupt ما لا قدوك appropriate أو ذو المقابل doesn't make sense. So we really need to look at the budget, and I hope well more other reading more house, but the way they've passed it, I'm sorry, irresponsible. They need to do better. They need to take care of other belau. Ngoy titira other belal mogot. Tia ngoy titira shoban mogot. Marbebira other another blue. Why should we subsidize our hotel, subsidize our tourists? Why? Temna kong pera hotel rate. Let them pay. We have to focus ra tirigel kotros pe anges and help them. Don't do it. Just make general policies that are bad policies, which is what we have now. Kada manasto bara ngosa klela la sewer and water. Great win for Aigat Shobay. Why? Focus on tigil other Spaniards. Other Spaniards or other Urel, other Belau, let's raise their salaries. Why do we want to raise people's salaries? Last year, and one of the things, como check inflation data. Last year, there's two things that happened. Mle increase our other government by 10%. And mle increase minimum wage by 75 cents. So 75 cents is a more than 10% increase in Maradam minimum wage. Inflation last year, and actually, if you look at the inflation, it was caused by fuel. It wasn't caused by the salary increase, minimum wage. Magida omesaigal data, economic data, or top of policy request, ma changes, long as there are other abalu. Now, Naria kasi, bere maurule po sa other policy. Tira bila bla sana leilani. I think 4, last year on the sign of 4. We know was I get over the sign of the budget. So, I'm sorry. Abay gira question was $8 million and more we nakalulaw. Question yourself, is 8 bills in 2 years acceptable? Our goal is to get work done. So anyway, I hope to reconsider a house. I hope a house are important policies keep Palau moving forward. So and then let's go on to the budget. Pacific Island Forum. Gida mal semriar el mo welcome ertigal betokol sa leader ang odal bulmera blur belau. In fact, as of today, the anticipated was almost 15 ertigal 18 leaders amera blur belau. Yeah. The final, but we're excited. Of course, our Rogul Bulu are going to be represented. Either at the leader level or at the ministerial level. That's 18 al Bulu. And then ang tirigel sa leader Bulu, dirigal mal batok arme, I think there's over 10 ministers. Ayagi del baby rabulu. Almera Bulu belo. Chief of Staff dirigal marmi, so I say there's over 100 media groups outside the Rabulur bela almera Bulu belo. So, seguradi, maski may ako siya nga nakakaroon sa lahat. And then, ang ngari NGOs almay. PIF, of course, ang umur next, following week. Hindi ngari activities at start umur Thursday, next week. So it's an actual fifth event. So it's going to be like 10 days. It get different activities. It get a tial organization ma tial on dibel. Mga mal mring asulera adra blura clothing artire. Kada mring rasing kada mo orgi kada mo oral kada sat speedo kada mo roting adra mara oral. Let's be friendly. And you know, so that loot mera blur belang. But you know, one of the things that we always go everywhere at other oga diplom sadri, o sea blur belang. Ako terklabok blue, lenteja komil de betigani. So I was just driving around and maltoka komil kwesra kularan. No, not as much as you see in countries, other countries. Ndik kadokora monitor our governors, I got school, mara arbek other below. Also kami sa ngarap kularal and pick it up. We're going to do even more than that. On Tuesday afternoon, the Moria walk and pick. Mayas ka na ka school. Matatuwa dal mo muro komi. Preferably hindi tigal 4th grade and morbawa maybe the 12 dara campus or tin more na neighborhood or tin muro komi. Tigal gagari ading at campus. Rongol ministries at 12 to do the walk and pick. Ayo say may ukta change up iri dro sa hindi ka sports the 12 a walk and pick for an hour. But it helps us remind us. So I say it's everyone's responsibility to keep Palau clean. Tadiregal malmutial teal merenga sulira aradara teal Pacific. You know, one of the things that I went to MIF and was able to talk about was a sell leather tmagal blue الغصب أقل غسيسية أهل بريد رجال كذا أم ساضر تيال أرجع لا بلو لاب يجي دام ده issues like climate change سيل دو ساضر أدبل رجال بلواب protecting them, using them, developing them. الجيرة عرف these are all discussions that we need to do together and promote together. So you take it from the MIF and we'll bring up PIF and you know one of the things I share that MIF has a sales story together. You know, in 2021, we're out of people and they said the organization and they got the kayuring said they said that mag eurol al kaumrang. I have to say that since that time, PIF is now stronger. And say blagatak raigal attendance raigal namum regal PIF meetings. Every year, attendance are much higher. Most of the time, double to get participants at the leaders level than they were 10 years ago. According to idea, Minister Aitaro, temle 8 para sell laster pifrigider berau trial leaders are balloon like 15. So you can see the change, and that's because I think sometimes. When you have a breakup and when you get back together, you're stronger. Huh? And I think that's what we've seen. So we're really excited because I think sometimes family needs to be honest with each other. And you know, I think, the setting was the issue, but let's build consensus. Let's work together. Tell people really is the launch pad pre-COP and what we want to take to COP. And that unified Pacific position when it comes to staying below 1.5, our ocean climate nexus, 100% renewable. Again, macro issues that we want to take to COP, but it has to be a unified position or a PIF and moving it to COP. So, قادم لسوق الشراء يجي ده ناسي قال موضة دول whole afternoon ومودة قلت اليوم مقبي مستوى موضة دول مسكمة اليوم وغير هذا.
President Tungil Tassils, I'm sure that the rest will have a lot of questions with PIF. The questions nga katigil tal PSL Hospital in the presentation. Lilkor ka mar atra olvil. First already was sell Sel klungela tial Basiol Moringabe es el hospital is that 10 acres? Al ubeng wara klungel, and how is that size determined?
So, Sera 2021, 2022, gido tabdi siya first executive order. Na askara committee, elmo, okay, let's go back. Kita di rokun mo na siya hospital gid has two problems. One, ngarbitara daw. Sel tar typhoon ko dol doba tanggal morbe bulagi. Ongero, structurally, they tell us was within 7 years, namo molmonga ga adulot lihat. So what we're doing at the rehabbing it, trying to keep it going. So kadang-kadang naktungela current hospital at time. A current hospital ang arbe bula ultimal 55,000 square meters. Yes. 55,000 square meters is 11 acres, a little bit over 11 acres. So if you take say the kora size and un mortial le was 10 acres, it's about the same concept. Sea un da semble ulda sula kami team sera todo el mosei out me gida able request ay galbulu se modar sa temin mil gida se drospel el murur tialurio. You know, one of the things that don't know is that sera temela camparte kada mit sadra camparte digram de se sera un titolo in hospital moklo a mountain a de se lo tura camparte no mo muleng mo so sia udo dollar in camparte. It's probably going to have to be something that we ask for outside the camparte. So kadalam na say we need to do a study makamiti re laurel no identify el sites el tiram los inmatik el possibly reach seguid el dosperi. The one of the things el gedam dole say orior even though a site tamle gare the still a committee say gire the lomes el site. And then the next step say well we need to gire the dospera malungin analysis. El diagalur tuira feeling urtuira arsemmo el me base ngaraigel criteria gira de lomes ngaraigel ulspedre el al for the next 50 years ngara lomes ayedro gui emro modrodre omes base mela sumo domes se e base rakrungila dos peni en kadamarang iptisel gotrungil girer other belau ali girer rom dasser sel gotrungil girer other belau hoy algar orar instead of say hoy malungira other orar algar ira y say malungira other ira di girer rom sel arang el belau say ngrasel gotrungil girer other belau and yes there question was say for example albora ira after give a few more minutes alo magalal mo di trial other arba belau amal kloa a difference ra help el mortir so girer morsel luldas was say we're looking at Arangalela Blur Belau. And so a site, yes, we said the minimum 10 acres. Mumlodar sa utum. Dimle tour state provide a utum clear title ring. Meaning, matemela complementary sel bulu, matemsa sea gota amle natpang, ongerunga airai. Sel utum area close sel natpang because it's like 600,000 square meters, 100 acres. Di kami tir sa mereka analysis ring tuturo sa number one site tairai ongerong ngatpang a third orior because of limitations actimis kami example tamil subra bela sa based on our current population ay di sila a better hospital should probably be similar to what we have now so sir more to sell 10-acre concept di tigida blod subi to say al sumutangar orior, you have no opportunity to expand. Le mlerar bitara guram. Egorulia building, magigya utum rogir, and if you need to expand, then namda will expand. So one of the things they wanted to be able to do is a Karulia building. You have the main facilities, and if you need more beds, there's space now to put another wing. You can grow. The real nesodro say ngaria space. Housing. You know, one of the things that we're doing with the SR school, skura tial hospital right? I make sure and t-shirt tiang serak yegrel bui perbela triri. Adala kamne sensei, magim le kira pink apartment, mo kira sirim, liga blara kamne, talim la kaigan, dim lagi bem kira bela, ila liut marayan. Ako marar sel concept was saying there has to be government housing for government employees, maybe nurses, doctors, other area of finance, sensei, encourage them to get was say, membre ngari apply and help them get on their 2 feet. Again, part so we wanted enough land and they said to expand again. I'm thinking was the existing hospital need the warehouse. Sera logo doon dim la warehouse. We need a warehouse na kita the store of supplies and enough for the needs. So akora di share sa gitan gamang explanation, but I think to the question was 10 acres mean nga basically said they would get us to where we were. So actually having more than that allows us to expand and grow and develop even more. And like I said, hindi kasi yung that's for 10 years, 20 years. We should be talking 50 to 100 years. Hospital, you should make it plan for 100 years.
Most sakti follow up. So with your explanation, 10 acres eventually disqualify the book site or but we have 2 remaining sites. Right after the presentation, no sa amura interview ra adra ulbi latirkal tilakal lara talo social meeting. I heard the maybe the argument was ang hindi mlakal kiri del recommenda basyo mlakiri del to individual assessments of the sites ma possible book types ra hospital murayel kakarusel site and the cost estimates and whatnot, and then we will choose the sites for ourselves based on their assessment.
So kita say these are all political questions, and that's why I'm going to separate cell political ma feeling. Kada tilbira walel wase kada mosi kada are experts and may help perigid evaluate the site. Magidam la askara blue ramrigel say we need help evaluation our site and come up with a preliminary design, 30% design. So a first part of the process, alia kada askara ramrigel ma ramrigel amilskida 2.3 million. Sir time a senator malaire dirga director of public work. Matamleha sel firm el evaluate artial egal sites and come up with analysis. El kita say the mother thing. Of course, at the end of the day, kita other below. So all we say was no. Remember, Maria requirements. Kita I guess I do that we can do whatever we want. Di kita we're planning was I got outside and me. And so we need their help. So if we need their help, they want studies that have good plans and good data and we like information and how we came up with our conclusion. So asel kami team kita mle task ni longora artial. Toy milsatial study na momre gar ranga igar kalday. It is either was say kita mle task artial kami tiro se momolil trasay. Site, of course, will be atil. Of course, we understand what I'm saying. It's their right to talk. But we have a process. Katamla askra design, emla askra a feasibility study, emla askra what of their recommendation. So it's there. But a question was kadamira olbil el mut olbil am message say dlutin mo evaluate. Who's gonna pay for the evaluation? Appropriate will evaluate a site. But Amrigal is not going to evaluate any more sites. Amrigal am say we want to break ground before I get to the office at 2028. And so you have to keep moving. And based on the analysis, it's very clear. A logic makes sense. So, like I said, we have disagreements. Hindi wa other will be real time. Ekan mi real time 2019 ako diri ka bolos issue. It's 100 million. It's 25% larger than it was then. Hindi other will be like kasi no ndiya. Kadam na kultura say there's almost 40 million nga reserve fund for cyclical and climate. No, hindi ka say. Well, I don't know how to help other. Tin muiwa. Hindi wa ask it kasi. Mera meeting na TCN. Hindi mo hindi ka sa agreement. Hindi ka sa help para tin mo dingi. Kung hindi ako dingi. Anyway, that's my story.
And and this one statement for my news. So in other words, I get 14 deliverables or sell agreement that may require the requirement that the firm will mokla gilt mokla.
Sell 30% design already. They're still working on the design. For them to go to the next step, we have to determine a site. So tell kami tirgit, I'm not determine a site. An Excel part of the process, they have to come up with a design and come up with a cost estimate. The trigal donors, which are all arriving in a week. May and Cell architecture firm has to make a presentation to them and give them an estimate to say how much is it going to cost. So they can go back to their government and come back to us with Siabal and Cell help pratelang. Taiwan Cell help pratelang. America lang help pratelang. Australia help pratelang. So that's the
Maulabong let tial muraira final halubeng sabela ulbil mong diak oy lubits it's yours to decide it. So whatever they've recommended al airai that'll be it. Diakangot alone. So they'll say.
Girel, I think all be like Girel at the or the swell was it. Makamo at the analysis there is why should it go someplace else? I have the report all be was it what is their basis to move it to another location? Burden na dibulo was President not of the Rasengaun, what not of the Rosetidaun. What not of the evidence in a budget. It was it. Well, they can say help Pradekalo Mram, Madekalo the game, a team of the game.
Ngunyang. Give the floor to
Milita Silsa. Gusto rin nga kamura Presidente, talagang Acting Minister of Finance. Tagi nila budget ma proposal increase in mura wages, and I think it was in the following year 20% increase ra national national wages. Private sector. So within the report net the second meeting at the Economic Advisory Group emphasize the importance of fiscal discipline. It was a the long-term impacts in a government budget would threaten private sector growth a long-term economic stability. Can you explain was saying part del report is it impactful or I guess
so Girel Klabe. I think the most important thing advisors Girel Masen Moruri and Girel Maria basis in Klabe. Official group Padrigan Latabda Omsubla I got wages at all time Adrigan are you Drigal Bolut Morsel level Al-Mlani Rangaramong because of the Costra, the local Miral Morba. Why say? And so what we're trying to do is restore sell buying power or other tier aurora vacancies. But it does multiple things. Sell increase our wage, and increase our contribution or other more SS. Increase our contribution or other more pension. So they all work together to help the system. They increases their buying power. So the economy continues to circulate. But what you don't want to do, so that's the we're still below. We need to get to this level, but don't go beyond. So that's why we knew we needed to add another 10%. The other 10% a public sector, that would take us to $6.20 over $6 an hour. I say, and so we plan to do that again next year. I'm not idea say we do 5 this year and do another 5 next year. The layer sale an impact. The Economic Advisory Group I say because of the oil crisis, do it moderately. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're being conservative. So I think I'll close to Trela sel wase se report reminder it wase do it within reason. It has to be done. Alam mo we're selling it, real wages have not increased, but you have to do it within reason. Ukti ka mobile mo unsustainable. And I think we've proven that. The other thing the other one is kita amal kloa aurora outside the message about sir Abdul Belo. Teams kami awan an example. Sir kombalin mura radar. Ara adam no meser tilo asa yuksel. Tama meser tase. Ngana mandi kan pertigal buy more money. Ngana mandi $5 ra. Ito ase. Letera ya minimum wage kami magidi follow. So said like the reason we're only hurting ourselves. Melang moria aurora porte, moria aurora ablilio, moria egida continue anal gida continue mas askogin mna legida se berendi will. Why are we helping you, Excel? Why are we helping whoever? America, like I reduce expense America. We should understand the value of other belau mabalwath and make sure that other lower mabalwath ang usel girel karkaringen. That's why tax reform was important. It helped us in usel kirel share government take care of provider, take care of other belau provide get services to those payroll. Same thing in other lower. So anyway. I think the bottom line is, mlamas ang minimum wage twice. It went up from 75 cents at 2024 and again in 2025. A question na kasi, has it been really tough for man bringing our back? No. In fact, the inflation during that time by man lario. And people have buying power. And we want to increase the Alan Morty. They buy namastira tax refund and continue to help them. So anyway. So lang a question the Minister of Finance.
Mr. President, so kalau na question sa gira PIF and the mal interesting question na file. Ask him this so kal kora the ask a quick follow up. Sell proposal minimum wage sa di mora government 5% increase ng atal budget lang.
So there's two things. One, last year we raised the government wages from $5 almost $5.50. And if you add another 5%, it will take it to $5.75. Okay? So, or $5.77.5. So amle uda so ase hindi kalsi edel kida amal mol mersel urdo so ase hindi kalsi la government ten maran morba ba private sector la kalo banggen maran. Remember kida yung government mo $5 ela tida private sector na mo $5 ela kaduk no government mo $5.50 or $5.77 if we had another 5%. So at least ito nga private sector mo $5.50 ela rak, and next year when we add another 5% ng anak government ra $6 ela banggen private sector mo $6. That's the concept.
The quick follow-up siya say tell number the raise niya based sa sila say cost of living am now reach we need to be able to reach a certain level mo sabedal afford the living here, right? The cost of living. A question I say a production again. Are we producing is that money coming in arbitrarily from taxes, or is that something we're producing ngara impact sell more a private sector small operators
So it's a proven fact that when you raise wages, companies become more productive. They try to find ways to save cost, so the productivity of an employee gets better. That's a proven fact. So gira del mundo lo hace. The reward tigal. You know, one of the things they said at the budget hace government malbetoka vacancy. Have you heard that statement? Malbetoka vacancy. Well, the good news is government yes, there's certain areas but most of the rest of the vacancies we don't need to fill them. By increase do that make them more productive. So that's you know, require them to get more skills, get more education. Minta karterto kasi we need to bring them back. Well, how can we bring them back if we can continue to pay low wages? So maybe, Minister of Justice, we don't need 200 officers. We just need the right officers that can handle the work. If we pay them more and get higher qualified ones that, martorang lang na retire or daw. But they're not, maybe they don't want to come back and earn at the level that we're offering. We need to provide again opportunity to bring them home.
Thank you for that. The leader, question number up if, so I'll clarify a couple of things. Kung expect ang ratel al adal me, do you think? May ako or number o may
We're planning for 2,000. Orak
2,000.
medal wa mini games.
Wow. And you mentioned the president say 10 ministers, gang ministers na kakarosan balu from this member countries, salo ng ministers from say Taiwan, other places or
So, kita, ngariya, don't was it the dialogue partners? Miguel, for example, that's a dialogue partner. May Deputy Secretary Landau, but he's like at a minister's level. So that's why that's what we're referring to. So from the UK, from France, from all over.
dialogue partners.
Yeah, the dialogue partners.
High level officials ng American may expect na assistant secretary lang daw. Is he an assistant secretary?
No, he's deputy.
Is deputy secretary lang daw?
Basically,
He's the highest level.
highest.
Assistant Secretary.
May assistant secretary Hager, interior. Madakal siya may secretary Burgam, may Hager ang teri.
Hague, that's the secretary of interior.
Why see?
Okay.
Yun kung wala lagi.
The clarifications, maybe tell Amora Minister Niray, 2,000 people. That's going to be rooms, transportation, support. Ngaring are you guys ready for that?
Tumlabok.
Assembler are ready?
They're booking the Namodeka rooms. So, there's, yes, we're ready for it. Of course, nga rin ikel, hindi ka siya cook morsel, mara, Minister Aitarom, by asking him, nga rin high level cook rooms, cook reserved mortir. Everybody else, cook nga rin rooms, at sabihin dito book. Daksal mga nakarimot mong.
Yeah, kasi maybe tila mo na kawal minister
Yes,
taro
please.
ikel book wa tigal liaison officers, drivers, do you have enough people? It seems that there are other, and if you need people, who do they contact if they need to come to you?
Ma'am Saule, later question. Ma'am, we still need more people. Kanya sorry into volunteer may involve with maluwal experience mo kailangan. So til contact officer of Minister of State Ramunes 488-5594 alagal shelling kay dele roll me madres.
Last question ako ka obi angin pastet electoral mga reporters at ko ra igal ko dami sa igal lurior maral improve ra facilities sa mawaran marang kami ko mo are those all next week? It seems like katokadi isiklam namo next week. Are you guys ready? Are all facilities namo ready kira la dal lurior mami?
Sel clol kung sulang le sel clol moblila meeting na tirgal leaders sa cultural center bayar amayo se el al sids egida narugu egel kwam gedrel tatsa parin namo redil holdra a meeting a gym mandirikan mo ready ra egel welcoming ma selwal farewell dinner reception Arail o mamisra udoren marail hindi mosoro rawai kagidel weather lega da mga spray barela ebat sa raral hindi ko sel aurora ableta concentrator ngi le clow londivel ma a movement ang sel aurora ma basically ara sel aurora blabot ang merekari o mamisra trigel mga spray bala igal line set tangara abaluray rair el continuing il mora airport. So hopefully el mo next weekend so eterogir sa gitel il cost stripe el mora rail the facilities ado na basically mo miracle mira time. Ida uspe ertial ale emal merenga sulela buera kalau rengartir kada matingel was nga section na rair oriorma ay rail marala oriorm kada mo stop telgit lendi mo anale na open hindi ka adra orior malewet malube tobet arak mo ngarang kada mal ko operate makadoling itersegi del ko operation ma understanding na adra paluma lolmol me dergira urelet elolmol mal bukar okya kargit el morsel temil maral sulang.
Well, kung may last one question, I'll let you guys follow up. Nga reason may utter program ra amla mo revise 100 times ang amla mo bes. Sa leaders meeting nagi retreat nagi murang or something like that. Ang mura ablila former senior surang senior ang along. Can you explain kuramli reason for that? Ngaray kel ko reoral ko mga tumok paringin mo sila accommodated tigal leaders sa gital retreat. That's what we heard.
Mal sao lele. Oy, originally mlagin mo ur. Di tira leaders. Ang ari tira yung tarbo sirira bol teng masra mo tengel madol ade kamle makit. So there's a lot of factors that was considered. Even other forum secretariat tigel lo ngara meeting am namil mura site omes masin. Mal mo bring na ba majority tira leaders tira seniors level up. For example, Prime Minister Tonga getting a wheelchair over. Mendapat sebel ngara mo tenga mo mas ngar sit some bus it's really difficult. Logistic wise mal mo challenging for them. Ma movement tira leaders mal mo kamangal. So they actually tira siya nga at sila titing babal daw outside of Koror and they need their privacy. President Giba Solomons, they flew from an airplane in Mura other side of the island country no retreat. So what may they're more feasible sila accommodate the tier leaders and give privacy tabila rubak which hindi kamamam niya will decide masalabong hindi mga presidente ma security hindi ka man mo provide the security that's needed sa area. So tell umalit to Selbasio maldim lakal even the secretariat tamlo visit several sites agree to that one.
Ngari ako rural infrastructure wise and preparing it say for security and even the
Of course, security may come sa Minister of Justice, hindi atora al set tel bidding tige 18 al other mo meet. It's the leaders retreat detail mo. So daka maklo logistics involved. Di atora security di kumsa al Minister of Justice mo sorry.
So Minister Itaro, lalo ko ya Minister of State. So a number of attributes were taken into consideration mo between the different sites lo sengara angin mo ring isel leaders retreat to include the component of security. 18 and leaders are Pacific and protocol standard level of security nga rin protocol na rin attached to their movement and where they are. Ako ka input ra mga to security lo banggela partners sa kamamel na region and lomis to security mara telpif asegi dal site more conducive to the type of security my level of security for that level leaders tungulot to badira oriol el morse compare the more baby sites like where they're more open more accessible or versus or segi del al trabajo gay gidra baby taken into considerations to my understanding and significant alterations in infrastructure del per security requirement whatever adjustments that need to be made there to secure it, enhance our security. Amal ako mlalo sa gilapay wala util adra yourself black mumubot yang mukarat yang. Sumsegid ako na sa dal mo black tak karingin. Lanti kapag taklisay. Ang laban ko.
hindi so kalmo kataklil kasi sel consideration lo ba retreat and mora blila pamala president rangar along mal nakamang discussion ra minister mar adra fifth secretariat fifth secretariat tamni advisory gid in discussion ito ko rawa blil low ay sa pebi experiences ra pebi below so nga nga president sir tiangal ra the leader o invite ra adal mura completed algidela retreat. So it's happened previously. Hindi ka expense sila kabelmental mo oiter tiang, di one expense sila kabelmental mo oiter tiang ay gire la meeting, el adire kal mo touch til al kalimal gire la tora security, din dia kal physical security, gire la tora cyber security. In order to ensure lo ase sel alngia intent ra optatari ra leaders di mo ditire adu sabi edel kut makli with enhanced cyber security measures al sabi edel ngul mora wari de la ngar along di segi te dia kango al expense ra kabelmento al di temporary for the purposes of the meeting.
In line with security, sila Eli am nga news ra Taiwan. Kira la adal currently running a travel business survey law. Retired intelligence officer was arrested yesterday for leaking information ramen belaw paal kira la kura relationship ring ma Taiwan, information about World Health Assembly with ma other kura list kara Oceans Conference or what ngara kura information latangal say.
So le Olgarila, ang say it's out in the news for everybody to see. Masong Taiwan judicial system el al time undertake ako ka criminal process til involved barangay gidal el adal do dong lim katektal nga blue belaw reference ringil el adal merbelaw is because he was a long time business person here in Palau, ang investment ring ityang, and yes, justice system gid, lo bangala national security coordinator gid, amla kay audio lo bangala Taiwan, ang kirela, ayel book information pertaining to his activities here in Palau, like the partner justice systems, yung malmol maurel makada kada ko ka respecter sila al process al undertaker niya Taiwan agi connected man nga niya support ma ang sulog spell from our end agi ulo man trade provide agi gidal but agi gidal mes newspaper agi gidal al information.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have a question for Minister Ngiray. Will there be any special night markets held during PIF?
Sulang yang halong ilger. Kumamo lo ay sa mong morning night market ra ayray lo mo ra kloko. Mong siya walel. Tara tiang state rem na decide mo mo ra night market mo to re-establish as a night market. Makmo central link level kami. Ang edong na day market tamo mo ra August 31st mo September 4th. Lomo ra 5 o'clock mo 2 o'clock 5 to 9 p.m. daily. Also kung mga niya sorry mo open na gidali ora mo participate in cell 31st mo 3rd longora niya PVA mo si ilkol ra PVA reserve voter kami balubong ra area kami. Cell 4th, specifically Coral State Market, Coral State, KSG State, and Cultural Affairs. Again, number 488-19 Doria PVA, 488-3143 Coral State. Mga igil tablol number sa Bilkol, akmal mga matadar other mga otrulyo memortraw tokar other ablu no mi bais.
So lang, I have one more follow-up. Other than the night market and the walk and pick mentioned before, is there any other public events that the public should be informed about that they might be interested in joining?
Thank you for the question. Do you understand Palawan?
Oo,
Okay. Akti mo hen silto kol Palaw. Awan na gel to kol sa nga president terseral lakot mga atu al wasep pifal Palaw. Aswa the lulitial pifal mor other Palaw ro kuya will kamertir kal okya kar gidel nga rekel Palaw me. Mayel tial erungul parka amo ngaring yang rabang raringi rabe kel kasus. Se sabi iren morar okya ke morar other abalum. Nsuadro ol tengil wase gidar other Palaw ro kuya at makar ro kuya will kamertir kal okya karigital May. Sel opening ceremony, amoring ira al sela National Gym, din direct kalmungaring ya screening rikla man sabi irar adra balul kuka minggal loban tarirar adrang al balur sa temel opening ceremony artial al parka. Ulo ko mong kloba syorikit, eng sabi el ang sabi edlo si sabatri raro kul adra al sela gym, mending wal ko rataligi bal ko skodla, material okya karikit el mamo so isaba gidar adra balua so adra trauma katingit mangara mangara dikla mongaring ya onga kama roko sel talma. Komeng au era edi clarify say kata direct kalmal mga madalar tirigal local dignitaries sergif tirigal direct kal invited al mo obengela president al welcome tirigal okya karakit al roko yan me all thing la ravalor bela.
Hello, Shandon H.E. from TMC. When preparing for PIF, one must be taken into account as the host of this year's, PIF to ensure everything runs as smooth and efficient as possible.
If I understood your question correctly, you're asking what do we have to look out for in order to ensure that it's run efficiently and effectively, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Minister co-chair ang Minister Aitaro ma Ministro Obia. Nga ngomura protocol sel dollar orchestra airport terminal mol mutra drang clear the whole process so maybe
So-
for this modi.
Dia am sulara gerol. Auror am namo obuil. El douror el plan el girel tial omral mi. Tial omral mi a gidar adar belao sen klo dole el belao omral mi. Raigal baby rayun sera a Pacific mo. Auror am na a plan magardi mo o execute tra plan rigid. Edim nakadilgid auror tiang. Kaduluro ringi tiang aringa luul el Pacific Island Forum ngania atau kubet sel committee lo ngara aringi makaduluro lo bentri trigay gidalat. Matam la motela la merbelaw. Makadam la arulia plan rigid sel level ori rasko gira airport edingi titri airport almora hotel tir o mangara maral MOJ Minister Olgari Lamar Adal tigel melang seortir apart teringi aklag ringi tirgal ad nanti akal maksak ese malamol 24 hours sa selang artet tirgal leaders ma umaroli ra hotel el top del mora igel meeting place malam kat mokla igel pasiol bolo meeting ringi igel dinner el boring igel meeting el bolo ru rabek kada tiam nam kat mokla rogil plan ringi mangal leda di mo execute ringi agyo maral wase igel blata kat mokla kami tirigid makami tira PIF long ra artiang o bisra president aige edidongi el angal mol tirak la yegi dal lam kat mok wal ul mo ngat maklel tial meeting al moringi ra balur bela magi kung lo mangela itaro makamitim tirga rogul minister sel kumama involve mar adel involve bertialuriol basing kada ready receive tirgal at kaya kama day tertir ay rogul telang tengil tial kladaul el molmu tersel sil oral ako makaya lomsaw da sebe lang ari ko makailgere kad mo masaw the overall planning ma execution tiang sel starter adon may in place rela time
Ako dase tiang palungil ger. Tiang example mal di wasem invite other mablim. Ko malungura madal buil. Kita mlangut tek klol kladal mer bela ko seronyo biang. Mo ko hotel mrala isel bela ora tek li bela gidel mal bel gamar adam mera belwad. Ya hotel klabogla aga gidele isel bela ora kel bela the Pacific. Ko malunga adal mera madal buil treat terin morsel hotel kol babal sebed. Very simple. You do unto others what you expect others would do unto you. Wasa gil tora sing tora hawa inge represent mase ohana. It's family. Said talo say the tora hawa forum lang family. Said suma adam mera babaluam eng adam. Bakbal mo nga sulam ta question ni brother ma balon itra adra blue mase. The road to showcase is still Palau and Pride that hit. Tiamon 3 times the hostery, 3 times the momal isel bela makmal di nga sulim. Thank you.
Ask a follow-up. So kadi ask a follow-up logistics rapif. Kadi kamara Minister Algaril ma Minister Tmatul. Nani nga update talk share kami Minister malmli o ay saygal basta mo nga road closures matukura traffic na specify was beginning na Monday nga start till arrival delegations. Are there any updates or more specific information on legal road closures or diversions for this upcoming week?
Sulang lilay way say agim latal gibom dumara ngarel belaw ngora di heads up brablu ko mamma arwa Sergeant Lieutenant Padang alama achieve ngira manyor and we told everyone el wasigil mutal mura next week el lutelogedi el seldabong ya kadamo wala pa specific dates and time frames mangalak alwid ya ada mamal mutal mura ngaril belara Tuesday ending maskaw example for example ang cell welcome ceremony cell opening ceremony which is Monday 31st ang mo close around at a period of time at raditial madalap a gym mo tetele la cell opening in oceans mang kada Oriol in partnership lamang kila state governments mar state rangers at Oriol who are absolutely the best at that mo help parigi the cell bukta daibot ka main traffic el moya ka secondary road el moltoba der tidrang mat lama almong at state rangers at Oriol on masarigi der say musab ira national police officers lo focus at tagi del main road boklo mokla traffic ram dal tagi del PNOC ma akan boy ma drop off leaders magdamo segi daw na example na kasi during segi the period of time ang mo o close di gidel time di segi del temel segi del throughout the whole week rapif ang mo nya rebi that time at dito ra amlay lo giwa a secondary road malubagi opener cell turning lane I get will kumaka a closing magi direct mo close at tayo dam dala PNOC so I get minimal I get mo actual close arail moringi waditor ma divert the traffic mang as much as we can agi multo da agi del detail del information at Tuesday agi direct al medio liter other abuluma drivers alwasay mo mesra police ngarara lagi mo saturated tiara police mo como mesel was ma traffic directions ela the speedo ngawak lala kada speedo ang mal mo ko dala aral lang mo wagay gid lolokoy tirkang leader sa lameng kayo del minister ay taro ako set sa gid level of protocol manggina marulakan boy low police escort mangmoto ka amber light sa police makamang talkan po mutrara makadetiol ngito la sebo da podo karigik la kada speedo get to where we need to go. If we need to get to where you need to go, maybe leave 15 minutes earlier than you usually do. Pointer say, Leo, set ka di double time. Di ka double time, kladal, merabalul, sel may, ay kaya daktilo lang nil belaw. Salbabi na time, mga ngit tila, maamo, tele, dalwasay, titigingin na kabalmente, kadam asngoring il baluma, role dam sa kadang. Ay gel, tira mamsadra, pif, atokora bebiringi atokora wa impact sa climate change gidan adra wa island balua mal impacted tokora transnational crime atokora daraksel di dang muringi tokora economy dia tingin la kabilmente tingin dro kuyan adra bela o matokora tingin la Pacific ro kuy makadolingit ta kay nga sew la tokora everything el mo ngaringi whether in traffic kado siwakli raele oder siya ima de kada ngil mga adu ngil bagel ko minister ay taro appoint nga sa Mr. President ta say tiging et rokuy da kadil tiging la kabelment tumata kay Mr. Rokuy sa igideli lay sula
Awera albo on wakle akti saber kami time lear adara media malangari nga plan kami ura klugu ke lakam oite legimo merura dry run ra klugu airport tel may edi kama mandia kapulkul bem multito ira kama mara aral malangaring ya planner kume bong indira ka kami kmer di gagi di aparte tialo reoro wasi so other ruli dry run smooth transition accel belger dara bulwa tal mora gel el hotel tirm
adi tugrege alb sel saber sel next mo obi andi akota kira la ilang kita hostel pifmang sa leader at Taiwan may delegation tira klo and we did extend an invite to China ngarinya ako ay sulwasi ngarinya mo adras mainland China and Berbelao any hints or you got that they're participating
ran masaula kung daso sel germana ubian aktibe bakar tebla skaka dia merang na invite dengan hotel meredra sina dia mla ding ngania dream la ko amlu suma ko rikira telelam lai ma di ka ngara logistics pag di ka information masin ta ame on what level
mo abi ang tukor dal tela lu do dam la mo ito tial pif o da di so donde ko kaseng rasel bachetel to sparing il hostel tiang
wakla ka di meleot te meleme de malam la engarinya rulto bda udo dama di gumdaso en malungi la karim ding telgibel early akpayo lingit telwase meda bod sis para alsel emergonge bodo sado mil sebel malmo o adu lwase tela ludo da 1008 gire del direct reminder del wase direct tela ludo da atilu rasio bai mar adra mo benefit ra tialo mara el meima kamal misura la gere berak mo mesa rala yel aurora dir kamaraela mang laas be el mo to badara aurul sulang
I think I'll have the explanation in Akla. Sel tilaw dra yo sang argument tra blur belaw. Ay del bartel tela. Sel gira del mreng asulari trial betogol salid. Blur Australia, New Zealand. Yamar betogol blur. Indonesia. So several mreng will know how much they all contributed. But the mreng asulari sel the mesa sel luto tiral tial meeting. El berkeldibular matakla Pacific e con yelo nga seur gidel el giren clora moita adi mergidel el mrura blidel maungi lama di moita bela mokluyelet mga sedra seng oi a hotel tira dongora am lira dongora to kayel dongora Ding mo itel mergi. Okay. So, lang.
Maldilas the question may President tia alla bela ul showcase tokol era priorities ngani sel priorities sa Pacific mga yung priorities git para ko sel sawam basang malumang lasting legacy el malumang issue sawam highlight tani tagit el PIF maringiri approval 2026 kukura bela to
Well, كده يجيلوك priority رجيد سيد الباقي المرسل ملورون ولاد الواسع كاب أمورينا Pacific. أولم لكلو تترل لقابة البرا Pacific من سود الوليس سيل الكلو تترل impact راتورا climate change المرا Pacific يدري الوليس Agida, ngrasel doruri in the Pacific, so we need partnership, we need investment. Saya, so humasir telti merigideng belaw, building economies, lives, action, and unity. Mang sergida manasam nemruni aulang ngarega aldabel, obtetrir trigal sa lidel may. Mang cloud to trela our partners. Umasing seluk lo Tilubra Solomon Islands was a missed opportunity. Lendim laka artelir trigal kita kau kledam yamrula tol mera abalu. Matia sel teledel noiti tril me o ay sertil was a yagida ulama yagida ya seder magalo rol matmokal المرالو مسأكليا بلومام الممسيسي yo spera partnership ra omariom le ospea partnership re kamira omangede ospea partnership re kamira tora tourism ospea partnership re kamira creating energy resilience, energy independence. Again, these are things that we hope regard partners kita me muriate dil loya lo otisel urungulir tiramrar kadarmal mage gau kleda me matmok layar toy. Akti maskme example, a result traya, we already see the results. Australia me kamit help pergida tora batterira solar. So you know lo set el nutel valorisir sel tora renewable energy. And it will be a showcase. Rather Taiwan amna armula solar be will tell out material one stop shop at PIF will be 100% renewably run. Model ospea dengira abalu. Ngani bus, electric buses. You know, those are just examples kada demonstrate o tilwa se ayagida se der makan muru la yoni tangas nutro so kumam and let us take it to the next level. You know, one of the goals was how do we become 100% renewable Pacific. We believe was achievable already. Vela mesara la diesel out of control. Our renewable energies continue to come down in price. And we also need to open our minds to new technology. So, the experts and men, this way. You know, I mentioned it before. Tora nuclear energy. They can get close out this way. Say, just because in Tora nuclear, there's safe nuclear energy, and it's clean, and it's stable. And maybe we're 3-5 years out. Let's for the Pacific, I say. Simple as nuclear rather the Marshall Island, Tahiti, close out this way. We have to be able to be open, objective, and look at things holistically. So we hope to get maybe our trigger so they can share and can open up ideas so that we can go back to our countries and say maybe we need to change some policies to help take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. You know, kita mlesoda tokora technology. Mlesoda, let's say data centers, AI, whatever. Mirabur velo. Mlaria uldaso 80 years ago, mlamlara second cable mirabur velo. One part of the velo swari yase. Oil asel motoy Hindi na expensive natin yung kami, hindi ka other member like that. So you have to look at things holistically. And so we want investment, we want the opportunity to build a prosperous and resilient Pacific together. And really, maralong ang sekla ng clear our other Pacific. And that requires partnership. So that's the purpose of PIF, is to bring those partners together to help us achieve the 2050 strategy that we're focused on. So, Sura.
Kung man ka mga press conference akti, o kira Minister Justice, akura just curious. LL tutaw headline ra Island Times Samle Cell case ra pala housing. Kura mal makatakatang si dilu ra last year makmlet chase the story muratay wang complete ra senior irak men kakal file nga 8 mang 40 log tra ilan week. Makari ka kura waseng wangra share why kikital cases with HG makuk with SP. Hindi kurang application na ilang laatibo se yang makara kung share kikital case lo mit sabel kwatal gibel mare why kikital mal affect ra sorry mo mga results sa igal cases iti.
Misaule Olgarila will question bal sabina an other blue and wrong say you did chase it down I'll get him you chase it down tiro of the news tiro of the social media I think the core of that whole thing is there was an unnecessary delay processing sale case. That's just no way around it. Sige dia amin that mokla there is when you talk about what goes to the Attorney General's office at ang ngaramor SP and komisal was is a conflict mangulan da kasabel AG's office more SP there was none. So there it is, unnecessary delay. When it came to our attention, we called in the people who were responsible for that particular case, and we ensured the lasing without delay at makut makli, mang mlamakat mokla, mlamor obisa AG, mla file sel case. Gagidal lodang ala palulan tilog ng clear a newspaper, we're charging that person.
What was the unnecessary delay?
Unnecessary delay, and then but all time yung akmay adaka matame Dios isiul al tokoy agi malokoy laklamar al tokoy ang bato ka urior mong makasaya himself baby that time hindi nga alam. So it requires just better planning and better management. So nga as a standard actual supervisors sa bakra adak hindi dira kal gilil maruna ang araalan nga selungil taleta mang what took place was just unnecessary delay. Mang address ringi from that angle without delay and direkal mlemre adal makatmok it's been filed other charge. So and we're taking steps to address adal dimlakal girel delay. We're taking the appropriate disciplinary steps on that and taking necessary measures to ensure that it does not happen like that. Sulang.
Sula already malmlemula a question mura ejira last week. I think mlo blagatak was saying ade kalungin RAG al AG rigid elola ureur outside. So I think a minister urere da gira del mo mesagal contractor AG ureur outside stop.
Yes, sir.
That has to happen. Kung sulalo algorithm le bring up particular issue le highlight kita al baby time kad mal mo despeto ase mel de cara alla mangira del magara gira del magara. Well, let's stop all of that. I think it's better that fully committed adra alla ela kada accommodate tay gira del treta el mo. I think okay. Sula.
Last question naman kay Lapif. I think are there any regional initiatives Palau plan mo propose during PIF? And then two questions. And then Mr. President, نسأمل provide the example مرة أضرب بلول was how I got decisions made during I got mal makluto trail regional meeting affect clarity. Just an example of one of those.
Well, ako trule tial مودر تريال متقلل عبلول متمام تريال سليت سلمي يعني تيل هذا لو ايسر تير ملاول دسوير اولي تير سمو سوامل كوت مقلا يايدل يا يمو مرلا سين برايورتي رمام من كده as a Pacific انا يل كده عمرها سين بروتو تريل 1 سيدا سين Pacific Resilience Facility kada ملاسم المودرة ايمل دارت المليون لودود يجريل سلتوي ngaria baby rablul mena kamit di driagable enough to reach yourself 500 million ma part ray the meeting ama sida teal magada engage with the partnership that say this is an avenue sil logi ungi help program naram bruni set Pacific Resilience Facility seudo del kidru qadar Pacific ama dari مثلا ngaria disaster ngaria ayeluk adaptation programs gidan digidro ortabda udodel digidro masori Direct said unlocking blue Pacific prosperity. Say mla initiative كده مع تونغا ميلالي كده نيجي له دودرا بيزوس كده المال ملوني ترى partners كده لو اسم help كده كده. سيغنا help I think last year يبقى سابق تمنا عشان كده يلا 2 million from that. الhelp كده راح تغير أموريهم ما تلعب له. But direct لو سيصير time that initiative is about balancing protection and production. So direct لو مسكيدا تيال لوني ترى كده اسم help program لو بقدروا لا a fishing port, ngaral activity. So that's how it comes back, a help period. When we talk about adaptation, building resilience, disasters, taraulan telpifa important merit sector hospital. This is an opportunity to guide the salida ngara blur bela or say hospital tarayel got maclol issue kung magiram address when it comes to building resilience for disasters, for climate, for ensuring that our people are healthy. And so it's one of those unifying things. And these are more on a bilateral basis. Di ba, tokora igat tokora renewable. So, ngara sige the level, and then it drops down to how does it help us? And then said sharing our information. Miskita tell, for example, we're going to have a tara said Heather said Idaho lab. Nakan from my said Andy. I forgot his name. Idaho lab said lab lang ang Miguel. El tire al time subayel kasing modular nuclear reactors. Again, basically size ra container kung mo ang remote 20 years to provide that dengue send in more may. Produces 1 megawatt for 20 years. That's just an example. Maria 7 and 10 Miguel that are doing this at the lab. So that bell share lo get our leaders ra Pacific lo say sel do soda renewables sa kanang tingin na sendekal si LD solar by itself kasi LD wind by itself get nga stable power source ra magel o teka one option and ding mali gare you need huge pipes we're talking about they can only provide 1 megawatt in the expense so we have to look at all alternatives and that's why could ask our scientists semong mel direct help mel share open our eyes and see what other opportunities are out there. So how does that translate to other blue? For example, if we get a stable source of energy, reliable, it helps us build the energy independence. That's that's a long-term outcome. But at the same time, we reach our climate ambitions and reduce our carbon footprint. Encourage our blood and mururo sisiu. Help hopefully الموت المال مغال ملوت المرال مربابادول ملوت متملى مسير ما يورت المال yeah that's how overall it helps us. You know, we talk about health, we talk about education issues, we talk about security issues. So one of the things Dolly seeing it through the PIF, I sell Pacific Policing support group, PPSG. 300 Madrigal, el Bullis el Merablo Urbela, trigamel lo ng seorgidra amangarablu, but also they're building cell communication marubing will the will gidra trigal officers ayan bolo. Misel bolre igida me se trigal mru ladan ngana asir tel Pacific especially adan the blue. Adios isulad. Tangarablu ade muratarablu. So collaborating and addressing those issues are important. Kadam tengo no se tara challenge kita IU. How do we cooperate e combat IU? Kadere kadam se ngari ablul degal respecta a boundary kita tara a dialogue partner. Ngirel mudung no se mela kadi mo sa misal se mela la abluma mela kamo aiser kamo maiga ngirel discussion. So these are things that al sumgadat magal 18 el blue masad en área crisiel. Ser del belal madadu ditya masad regale de la sinan met muraba grenset they couldn't care less. En belal di murado so what. These are both arungul Pacific masad en muria beredet keltoy. Mang sea crisiel igual del will اسمي مقدر نصير أراضر بيلاو لين قدم رول قال تو I know number one تيرك من budget president تمال بتوع عمرولين أي قال عمرولين أمو هن بركلانر أراضر بيلاو that's the ultimate goal ندي أنا سوري لما بقول سيسا كرتيرا budget I'm not sure أسيان راسين مال spare time but those are things we can help them on and I've had time so anytime my economic reports must help pertiring. But at the end of the day, there are responsibility. So, may both focus already, ATL bills are unacceptable. Okay. So, thank you. Namo de kamo, sigal close.
Como President,
Namo son other being musubes.
di last ora talang tingin la PIF direct kal morang ya ora taliki bel ngod al spouse program el organizer niya first lady malbotok our spouses er tirakal al leaders al mlakan formal may malos pera tokol spouse hindi ka din first lady roko hindi na kal nga first gentleman gel ila president ra Marshall al mlakan formal may nga tril topic al bol discuss tirakal spouse program erti ay gel topic al di maludra other belaw Mrs. Raklay mang non-communicable diseases, substance use disorder, child online protection and screen time. So igay mal relevant issues rel al time opportunity rar spouses al guk discuss igal issues al niya kora prevalent igal kakarousal communities rigid and how they can work within their own communities kuk support igal luredi ma effort rar leaders al advance progress igay gidal issue.
Digo spera un example. Gadam sadra Facebook. El meigel online scam ng mort mlam tamala gadam letter lang press conference am sa. Sel dumudra Facebook el gira igel to they couldn't care less. Malgi karel bulu. One of the things Australia really say al sumana nga bilora 18 years old by say 16. And they got seen on social media makasi ako magra enforcer say. Well, I di banner tira blumam. Of course, they got 25 million lad mga terrible البراد لو بامنجيل. That's why we need sell كده مقاسين. إذا Pacific قد مقالوس بير rather Australia, New Zealand is أرنغلا Pacific together we say كده أستنسر كمان. So أجي يسوون implement ترتيان إمغرا دخل enforcing the protect our children. Again, those are the opportunities. Sura. Lastly, Mari, yeah. Rather closing here, the Minasur Tira, sure, either take other Belarabekal seals, the public servants, Togobets, Tigel, Maria, Togobets and Sis Tirel seals. Maria Tewang, Tira Tanjobir Tirel seals. Miguel Gotel, a clola vertir. A directora habla bulis. Director Elobet. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday mura Director Arbulis sa Malmsauro Redem.
Director ngaria Arlene Alexander ngara Ministry of Education ngara koro. ma Ruby Ngiralmang, ngadiri ka nga food service, nga MOE. Last thing, Santa Rosa, okay? This Leo Scoro. Nga sa lobby sa gitra CIP Minister. Malitewang. Oh, diyak, lastly. Number 5, Kalistus Puloy. Nga nga MHHS. So, happy birthday. Ya, Dios ulang makaltangat kami, ulang makaltangat trablo rebelaw, malbekla rebelaw. Ma next press conference here. Wednesday, na next week. Orang mau mo ko to mga maran mara pif mo. Da mera next week adru trado do. Adam, sulang.